Will I stop gaining weight on mini-mod guidelines? How long does water retention and puffiness last? What is your favourite part about being recovered? I can do it all day, every day. Hi warriors, it's Hanne here and welcome back to another video. Today, a Q&A. I asked you all on Instagram to send in your questions. I received loads of questions and I haven't actually looked at them. So let's address them now. Question number 1. How are you doing today? How sweet. Well, I am doing pretty well today. It's definitely, as you may have seen in my previous video, it's definitely ups and downs. There's a lot of anxiety about the change, but I'm recording today, and on my recording days, I tend to feel quite well, either because I'm recording or maybe I tend to record because I'm feeling better. I'm not quite sure, but I'm doing very well and I hope you are too. Next. Will I stop gaining weight on mini-mod guidelines? Yes. The mini-mod guidelines are minimums. They're actually what people tend to eat on a day-to-day basis anyway. So yes, whilst you're underweight and after restriction, you're going to gain weight on these quantities because it's more than what you're used to. However, once you reach your set point weight and once your metabolism is up to speed again, these are the quantities that you will maintain on. And I'll be going into the specifics of that in a video really soon, but there's some good articles about it, so I'll leave some of them in the description. If you want to know more about that, definitely check those out in the meantime. Did you experience hair loss during your eating disorder? What would your advice be? I did experience some hair loss, but I know that it wasn't to the extent that, some other people might experience it. It's one of those things when your body is lacking energy, calories, and certain nutrients. It just can't take care of necessarily non-vital functions like hormones and hair health and skin health and all of these other things. So the best thing to do is to trust your body that it will heal itself and these things will resolve themselves if you eat enough. So focus on eating a variety, eating regularly, eating sufficiently, and with the weight gain and the introduction of new foods, this is something that should take care of itself. And it's really difficult, but remember that it is temporary. Next. How long does water retention and puffiness last? Again, another temporary side effect, this time of recovery. When I first started eating more, I gained a fair amount of weight quite quickly, after which it started to sort of drop off on the same quantities. However, I noticed that during this period, the weight gain all pretty much went to my stomach. And this is an area for me where I tend to gain most of my weight. It doesn't go to my legs, it doesn't go to my arms, it doesn't go to my booty, it's mainly my stomach and this area. But yeah, before it distributes anywhere else, most likely it will go to your abdominal region because this is where your important organs are. And your body is trying to protect you. So if you find yourself gaining lots of weight around that area, don't freak out. It's temporary, remember that. However, it's not really possible to stick an exact time frame on it. It will depend on the person. It will depend on how much weight you're gaining, how much weight you still have to gain, and so many other factors. For me, it took several months, and this sounds like a really long time, but all you can do at this time is trust the process. Wear comfortable clothes and maybe avoid mirrors if this triggers you. Do not, I repeat, do not restrict or compensate or go back to old coping mechanisms that the eating disorder is telling you will help a whole lot, because I promise you they're not going to help. In fact, they're just going to extend the length of time that you're stuck with this bloat and this puffiness. So any digestive distress, keep eating sufficiently, regularly, and take good care of yourself because it is a really difficult and potentially triggering time. Keep moving forward. Next question. Que puis-je faire pour arrêter d'avoir peur dès que je prends 200 grammes? So what can I do to stop feeling scared as soon as I gain any weight, basically? Two things. One, stop with the regular weighing. Sure, you might want to know that you're going in the right direction, but for that you don't need to step on the scale every single day or multiple times a day. Weigh yourself at most once every 2 weeks, or better yet, let yourself be weighed by a professional or by a parent or partner or whomever. I know that looking at my weight every single day was really tricky for me, and it's not something I recommend. So if you let yourself be weighed by someone else, maybe don't even get them to mention what your weight is. However, if this is not an option, or if you do want to know what your weight is, know that when you are gaining weight, initially especially, it is largely due to just fluctuations and water weight. So if you're gaining a lot of weight, this may not be real weight. A second thing to remind yourself of is that every bit of weight that you do gain is a good thing. It may be scary, it may mess with your head, but it's helping you get to recovery. So write down the reasons why you want to leave the eating disorder behind, why you want to recover, and what you're doing this for. Then when you do gain weight, remind yourself of these lists and remind yourself that you're doing a really good job and that you should keep going. You're on the right track. I have to gain weight, but I have severe IBS-like symptoms. Do you have any tips? I've got a few videos specifically about this, so I will link those. The major tip is to keep eating regularly and sufficiently. I feel like a bit of a broken record, but a lot of IBS type symptoms are just fairly common in recovery, and it doesn't mean that you have full-blown IBS or any kind of disorder that's irreversible. It may just be your body getting used to new foods again, your microbiome just growing and diversifying again. So don't overload yourself with loads of fiber in one go, but generally increase your intake, increase the variety of foods you eat, and do so regularly, sufficiently, without going back to restriction and without compensating. If you feel like your symptoms are maybe above and beyond what's normal, I definitely recommend seeking the advice of a professional. How to build muscle when weight restored in recovery. I have got a few videos on this on Patreon. They're Patreon exclusives, but even for just £1, you can become a member and check out those videos and get access to a whole range of other stuff. So I definitely recommend you do that. But as with any beginners to exercise, it's one of those things that you should start gradually, start with really low weights, low intensity, low frequency, just to get your body used to it, and also I think to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because a remaining eating disorder voice is telling you that maybe you should. So gradually reintroduce, and preferably get yourself a coach or even a personal trainer with some experience in eating disorders or who's used to helping out beginning athletes. Maybe that's not quite the right word, but yeah, you don't have to do it alone basically. It can also be really nice to go to the gym with a friend, not just for accountability, but also to make sure you don't overdo things. These are just my tips. The next question by the same person was, what is your favourite part about being recovered? And there's so many things. I think the most important thing for me is just having the headspace to focus on things that actually do matter to me. So not just thinking about food 24/7, but being able to be spontaneous, to spend time with friends and family, and to enjoy myself, to actually feel my emotions rather than have them all be blunted all of the time. What about you? Are you on the road to recovery, and what benefits have you received? What is my favourite thing to do on a rainy day? Do you have any good book recommendations? I think that question answers itself. My favourite thing to do, full stop, is read. And I can do it all day, every day.
I can do it all day, every day.
And that's what I have been doing in the past few days because I'm trying to allow myself a little bit more rest. So, in terms of book recommendations, it's really difficult because it's always the last book I've read. But one of my favourite authors, and it's actually in a genre that I don't read that much normally, it's sort of crime. One of my favourite authors is Yoel Dicker. I read his books in French and I love that, both for relaxation but also just practicing my French. What other books? There's nothing I can think of at the top of my head because that French one did take me quite a while. It was quite a thick book. But yeah, I get a lot of questions on this, so maybe I'll compile myself a little list and share that with you all soon. By the way, if any of you have any book recommendations, whatever the genre, send them over, leave them in the comments, because I do also like a good series, and at the moment I'm very much into Elite, and I really loved Casa de Papel. These are both Spanish. You can watch them with subtitles. You can also watch them dubbed, but why would you do that? But in terms of series, those are my recommendations. Is there anything you love or that you can do that you haven't shared before? Talents, interests, likes, dislikes. I can juggle. How are you doing being away from your family? At the moment, really well, because I know I'm going to be seeing them in a week or two. Normally, though, I am quite an independent person, and as long as I'm able to have a call with them once every few weeks, I tend to be fine. Obviously, there's days when I feel a bit sad and a mum cuddle is very much overdue, but on the whole, I think I deal quite well, probably due to having moved quite a lot from a young age and yeah, all of that jazz. What is something you like about yourself? Appearance and personality trait. Oh, appearance wise, I am quite happy with my eyelashes because they're quite long and it means I don't have to bother with makeup. Personality wise, I like that I can't think of a better word, but I quite like that I'm stubborn. If I start something, I will finish it. So yeah, that's something that can be both a downfall, but it's definitely also a positive in certain other scenarios. There we go. Thanks for that question, because that's a good exercise to do. What is my favourite snack? I like a variety, but at the moment I am obsessed with plantain chips and hummus. There's also always a space in my tummy for a peanut butter banana sandwich or a smoothie or a yogurt bowl, anything like that. I think it depends on the weather as well. When it's really hot outside, I want something really fruity and fresh, whereas when it's a bit colder like today, well, anything goes. Oh, and then there's what's your favourite dinner, lunch, and breakfast? For dinner, I really like a vegan mac and cheese or a vegan pesto, anything pasta based really. And for lunch, just the same leftovers from the night before. For breakfast, at the moment, whilst it's not super hot yet, I'm really enjoying porridge bowls. Literally any kind of porridge bowls, but I know that once it gets really hot outside, I'll probably switch that up and have some yogurt granola bowls and stuff like that, because the weather really impacts my preferences quite a lot. Like in winter, you will never ever see me eating a salad, whereas in summer, I love having a little side salad to literally every meal quite easily. How did you deal with weight gain? That's a very broad question and a very good question. In terms of the physical weight gain, I dealt with it by not going back to the eating disorder and not restricting. I tried to wear sort of slightly baggier clothes, clothes that fit well without feeling like they were restricting me. So mainly just a lot of sweatpants. In addition, I just felt really tired during that time, so just really taking enough rest, reading a lot of books, being in bed a lot of the time, and cuddling my dogs and my mum whenever I felt sad. In addition, I tried to focus on everything I was gaining alongside the weight. So food freedom, more headspace for other things, and so much more. So that list I mentioned earlier, definitely make that and look back at it when you're struggling with the weight gain. Whenever in doubt, just remind yourself of why you're doing this. Why do you want to get better? Why do you want to recover? And that can be really, really powerful whenever you're struggling, but also just on a regular day-to-day basis as a really good, really healthy reminder to yourself. Remember also, you don't have to do this alone. Talk to a parent, a friend, or leave me a message and see if one-to-one coaching could be something for you. Sometimes it's nice to just be able to talk things through, to set goals together, and to have this other person to help hold yourself accountable. Because once the weight gain starts, once the difficult feelings bubble up during this time, it's really nice to have a support pillar there. What was the very first thing you ate on the very, very first day of recovery? I've talked about my recovery journey before, and it's really difficult to say when I actually chose recovery, when I decided I wanted to recover. So I don't even know for sure how to answer this question, but I remember looking through old journals of mine when I was just starting recovery or just making a few steps, maybe not wholeheartedly, but making a few steps. And I kept a food journal at that time as well, so there was always a lot of bread. I never really had a problem eating bread, though obviously I didn't eat loads and loads of it. So definitely bread. But one of the biggest steps for me on the early days was eating a banana. I remember seeing that in my journal and just remembering the feelings that came up when I actually ate that banana. So I think maybe that's the food I have to mention here. A banana. I remember writing in my journal that, wow, I actually had a snack. I ate
a banana.
And it wasn't just having a snack, it was a banana, which for me was somehow a massive fear. So, a banana it is. Next question. How did you talk to your parents about your eating disorder and mental health? My parents knew before I really knew that I had an eating disorder. So I think back in my childhood, it was mainly them pushing me to open up. Whereas now I know that when I am struggling, I will let them know, because it's just nice to be open with them and for them to know what's going on in my life. I find it personally quite difficult to talk about my mental health and my struggles with them and with people in general. So oftentimes I will give a little clue. So I will let them know that maybe things aren't going that well and then shut off. Give them just enough information that they know I'm struggling so that they can then maybe ask me some more questions and pull it out of me. But yeah, little things like deciding on a little clue you can give them together and then giving them that clue when things are going downhill can be really beneficial because it can hold you accountable. It can make it so much easier to share things. It might also be helpful to create a scale of how you're feeling. So out of 10, would you give yourself a 5 today, or an 8, or even a color-coded one where green might be feeling really happy, whereas red is really sad or depressed. So 1, deciding on a little clue that you can give people when things are going downhill. 2, following a color-coded or rating scale system. And 3, just making it a habit to open up about whatever is happening during the day, whether good or bad. Maybe having a daily check-in with your partner or your parents or whomever, just to share the ups and downs of your days, the things that went well, the things that you struggled with. This can also be done by journaling. I think it can definitely be nice to have a trusted person to share these, to voice these things to as well. I feel like there's a few more questions, but I don't want this video to go for hours and hours. So I might save them for a future video. If your question wasn't answered, send it over again, pester me. I will get to it very, very soon from Spain. So thanks everyone for sending in these questions. I love you all loads and have an amazing end to your weekend. See you soon.